Greetings, blessings, and good fortune, everybody. We got us another Thursday here. Lots to talk about, lots to go on about. But I first want to tell you that we're not in, obviously, the McAllen Creative Incubator. We're in the Otter's Den, the Otter's doghouse, if you will. So we are still going out on YouTube, on Facebook, and also on 97.7 YouTube and Facebook. So, we have our options. We surely do. And if you're here in McAllen, you know that we are waterlogged. Yes, and yes. We are inundated. Many parts of McAllen have been flooded to the point where people can't move around, can't get home from work. It's 6 o'clock right now here in McAllen, and one of my daughters is stranded at work because, well, she's got a car that's probably about this far off the ground, and the water might be who knows how high. But anyway, I digress. That's why we're not in the studio today. But you know what? We still have a lot to talk about. We really do. We have much to talk about. And on that note, I will be in the chat, ready, willing, and able to answer any and all questions that come through. Now, I might not have the answer you like. I might not give you exactly what you want informationally, but I can tell you we will talk about it. We will discuss it in any way that is appropriate. And you and I will decide what's appropriate, right? This is us. This is not anyone else. Certainly not anybody that should be censoring us, which is something we're going to have to fight, right? For generations, we're going to have to fight this. Our First Amendment is something that is very dear, or should be at least, to all of us. And what protects it? Well, the Second Amendment, of course. You know what? Now this just came to me. I didn't showcase this. I've got the notes on the screen to my right. I didn't showcase this, but the Second Amendment is getting a boost, meaning there is now legislation in the works for a concealed carry permit in one state to receive reciprocity in all 50 states. So no more infringement on your Second Amendment rights. That was pretty much, as far as I know, the only amendment that came with that clause. Shall not be infringed. And what's the one they really hate and really want to infringe? You got it, the Second Amendment. Anyway, we're going to get into some crypto news here. But before that, we're going to take the temperature of our economy. Oh, yeah, you might be wondering about my shirt here. Never surrender. Yeah, if I was arrested and convicted by communists, I would have my mugshot readily available too. But since I have not been, I'm going to wear the boss's mugshot, because anybody who is such a big target of communists is all right in my book. Okay. Bitcoin, as of about a half an hour ago, $87,104 will get you a Bitcoin. Again, you don't have to spend that much money. You won't get a full Bitcoin, but you get $20, $50, $100, a couple $100 worth, whatever you want to put into it, right? So you don't have to buy. Many people do believe that, oh, wow, if Bitcoin's $87,000 per Bitcoin, I don't have that kind of money. How am I going to own Bitcoin? Well, you don't need to. You can own it incrementally, just by whatever you want to spend. You can, do it weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever works out for you. But as a non-financial advisor, right, I can only say it'd be a good thing, I think, for you, maybe, in your situation, to own a little bit of Bitcoin. But that's just me. It's not you, and I'm not an advisor, right? So, here nor there, you do you. Now, silver, we're getting an uptick. Certainly nothing near what I believe it's going to be at some point, hopefully near in the future. $34.67. So, that's pretty good, I would say. I remember looking at it when it was like $16 an ounce a couple years ago. Gold, all-time high, has to be hitting it. $3,068 for an ounce of gold. Now, gold has moved, I think, a lot more and a lot further than silver, but silver is still, in my humble opinion, and this is just an opinion as I'm not an advisor, a better buy. One, there's more room to go up. Two, the average person can buy it easily. So, there's other things too. It's industrial uses, and I've gone over this before, but that's just my opinion. The average mortgage rate, it's going down slightly. I mean, you prefer to put your money in Chico sticks. Chico sticks. Chico sticks. Huh. Where can I purloin one of those? I'm wondering. What? Maybe. I don't know. Are they hard to find or? Anyway, the 30-year rate is 6.71%, and I'm seeing a disparity in the 15-year rate better. Thank you, Ian. God bless you too, brother. I'm talking about the 15-year rate for those that unfortunately find themselves in the position they need to buy a house right now is 5.96%. It could be better. Thanks for your blessings, Ian, and God go with you, my good friend and brother. In crypto news, Trump's Bitcoin reserve order removes last existential risk, says Bitwise CIO, Chief Investment Officer, Chief Innovation Officer, CIO. I'm not the corporate type, in case you couldn't tell by my mugshot shirt and Lone Star hat. I thought they would be dead giveaways, but perhaps not. So I'm not sure what a CIO is. If anybody has that, throw that in the chat, please, if you will. Bitwise Chief Investment Officer. We got it. See, it's right there in the article. Matt Hoogan, hopefully he's a Hoogan and not a hooligan, believes President Donald Trump's recent executive order to establish a U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve has eliminated the final major threat to Bitcoin's long-term viability. According to Hoogan, this move solidifies Bitcoin's standing as a credible financial asset, which we all knew it was, right? And who are we that wait for someone else to say a credible financial asset? Well, we're the people that are reading the tea leaves, I guess, and removes the lingering fear of government crackdowns. Yeah, we don't want that, and Lord willing, it's going to stay this way. The adoption of Bitcoin has also found momentum statewide in the U.S. According to Bitcoin laws, 41 reserve bills have been introduced in 23 states, with 35 still under consideration. So, as you can see, Bitcoin's going to be purchased, ladies and gentlemen. How about by you? Because it's not going to be that great of a thing if only, nation states, states themselves, corporations own Bitcoin. It'll be great if people like you and me could own Bitcoin. At least that's the way I think about it. U.S. Congress advances stablecoin regulation with the introduction to the Stable Act. Now, I'm going to say something here, go out on a limb. It's not my idea. I have heard this in crypto circles, if you will. Good bit of Java there. But this is going to be possibly. I'm not putting all my how would you say, all my eggs in this basket, but it's definitely a possibility. Sue, good to see you. Do you know anything about Lightning Network? To my limited knowledge, Lightning Network is what makes Bitcoin a faster transactional asset. So the Lightning Network is an improvement on the blockchain that makes it go faster from where it starts out to where it ends up. Now, I don't know the technical aspects of the Lightning Network, but it widely was seen as an improvement. Now, if you want to go even smoother in the Bitcoin transactional business, look into Bitcoin Cash. Currently $330 some for one of those coins, some people believe that Bitcoin Cash at some point or another may eclipse Bitcoin. Now, I'm not saying that's true. I'm just saying some people say that. Now, why do I think that this stable coin regulation or the stable coin concept could be the linchpin in the transformation of our monetary system? Here's why. Stable coins are designed to mimic or follow, to the greatest extent possible, a certain currency, such as Tether follows the US dollar, USDT, US dollar Tether also does the same thing, two separate coins, tokens, but they follow the US dollar. This is done for many reasons. Probably the biggest is liquidity, meaning if you're investing in some sort of crypto, you come out of your trade, so to speak, you think you've gotten what it is you want to get out of it, profit-wise, or perhaps you're taking loss and you need the money or whatever. You back out of it. You can, instead of bringing it back into fiat, where if you've made a profit, you know, there's tax implications there. And I suppose there are with Tether coins or, you know, stable coins also. But if you don't want to leave the crypto verse, you just go into, you know, a stable coin like a Tether or a USDT, something like that, right from the trade that you came from, out of the crypto that you invested in, the token that you invested in, into a stable coin, so that you're seeing it in dollar amounts right there. And then you don't have to, you know, convert it or anything like that. Sue says, guess what? You can buy your Starbucks with Bitcoin via Lightning Network and Strike payment processor. That is cool. So, well, let me ask you this. What wallets encourage this, or which, I don't know if you know this, but which wallet would make it the most advantageous or convenient? I don't know if you know that. I don't know if, you know, that's part of what you were reading or not. That would be a good thing to know, because that way you can load up whatever wallet you wanted to do. But also, I want to say that I am the kind of guy that I hesitate to sell my Bitcoin for anything. You know, granted, I'm in other cryptos and I'm hopefully, you know, really hoping they're going to take off. But when it comes to Bitcoin, it's kind of like, it's a one-way street. You know, you buy it and you hold it, because I still believe that, and it's here now, you know, borrowing off of your collateral Bitcoin without allowing someone else to hold custody of it. It's still possible. But I think that in the future, we're really going to have an opportunity to make that happen in a bigger way. Meaning, if we gather up enough Bitcoin, and someday even 0.1 Bitcoin might be enough, so to speak. There's many things we can do with it that we can't do right now. Also, the what's the app? Lolly, Lolly. Let me see. Lolli, Lolly app means you can take a card, one of your debit cards, hook it up to the app, and when you spend at certain places, including Starbucks, Chick-fil-A, just to name a couple, you can gain Satoshis on your app, you know, in a percentage ratio based on what it is you spend. So that's pretty cool too. Now, again, back to this stablecoin thing. Lawmakers introduce a new framework. This is out of Crypto News, by the way. Lawmakers introduce a new framework that redefines stablecoin oversight by blending traditional financial controls with digital asset practices for clearer, accountable operations in a fast evolving market. Okay? Why do I think this is going to be part of the monetary transformation? I'll tell you why. In the future, certainly not now, because we are ruled by a debt-based fiat trash dollar called the United States Federal Reserve, not even connected to the United States government, Federal Reserve note. US dollar is a Federal Reserve instrument of debt slavery called the Federal Reserve note, backed by absolutely nothing. Nothing. Watch. Poof. You don't see anything, do you? The Federal Reserve note is based on even less than that, because when I go poof, air moves. When a Federal Reserve note is created, nothing moves because it's backed by nothing. There's no stable anything. So even a stable crypto is backed by something better than the Federal Reserve note. And that's why they are deathly afraid of you and I getting Bitcoin. But I digress. So what I kind of think is a good idea and what may happen is that based on things like this U.S. Congress advancing stablecoin regulation, what I hope happens is that via these stable coins, which are now under more stringent regulation, especially Tether, USDT, and probably a couple other bigger ones that, or maybe not bigger, but big ones, stable coins. What's going to happen is, in order for a corporation, company, bank, and I think it's going to be, these are going to be issued by banks, or these corporations will turn into banks, something of that nature. In order for them to be actually issued, so for one Tether token to be issued, at some point, I believe there's going to have to be something backing it up. Now, that will probably end up being something like the new U.S. Treasury note at some point, which will be backed up by assets such as Bitcoin, perhaps gold, perhaps silver, oil, minerals of some sort. Who knows? Who knows? But it will be backed by something solid. Now, back to the Tether or stable coins. I think what will happen with those is that they will have the meaning, the regulatory agencies will have regulations stipulating that if you're going to issue a stable coin, you have to have a legitimate and auditable, with a T, auditable store of value equal to that one coin in some sort of asset to back it. Now, that will be 100% better than the Federal Reserve System, which has never been audited and requires nothing to back it, meaning the current US dollar, which hopefully, again, will be transformed into something of value someday. Going on in this, and Sue says custodial Bitcoin Lightning wallet. So I guess any wallet. So your Trust wallet, your Exodus wallet right there on your phone, that can be hopefully used for these transactions if you want to spend your Bitcoin on a cup of coffee. Personally, I don't, but I do like the fact that more, I guess, vendors are getting into the cryptocurrency, run of things. So again, this Tether bill or Tether regulation establishes structured guidelines for digital token issuers that stress transparency, there's your auditable feature, and regular record keeping. So hopefully, since stable coins are on blockchain, we could go up on the Blockchain Explorer and view all of the things that are ongoing with the stablecoin at any point, which is what we ought to be doing with the governmental departments. Hopefully that'll come when we can put those on the blockchain and we could all be watchdogs, if you will, at any given time. These stablecoins will also be something that emphasizes, this is according to the article, clear operational rules to promote accountability without stifling innovation. So let's say you innovate something, you come up with something, you issue one of these. Well, you're going to be held accountable for the store of value, the backing of, the liquidity of, and the general integrity of your stablecoin. Then you can invent, you can innovate. Okay, how can this be leveraged for the benefit of others? That kind of thing. I think that's a great way within the structure of the rules, right? to make sure that we as individuals have freedom of the currency for which this nation stands. So if you're going to put your name on the US dollar, don't be like the thieves at the Federal Reserve. No, stay within the guidelines that benefit Americans, in my opinion. Then the third and final feature is paves the way for coordinated oversight, integrating crypto with conventional finance. See, this on-ramp that people like me and many others have been talking about is going to have an integration between, what people think of as traditional finance, right? US dollar, Swiss franc, the lira, right? All these, the peso, all these different currencies, so that they can on-ramp to a digital, I'm not saying a CBDC, central bank digital currency. No, far, far, far from it. Something decentralized, or if it is centralized, then it is at least corralled into or bolstered by a regulatory framework where everybody knows the rules and people are held accountable to them, punished if they don't follow the rules. And audits hopefully will be, at the very least, quarterly, maybe even monthly. Who knows? Who knows how that's going to work? So here's another one from Crypto News. This is interesting. Do you remember me talking about the SEC, Security and Exchange Commission, their head crook, their head criminal, their head rat bastard was named, well, I'm just describing the guy, Gary Gensler. Yeah, the Guinea Gensler. Not to say he was, I guess you could say honored enough to be Italian and use the pejorative Guinea. I'm not saying that. I'm just nicknaming him Gary Guinea Gensler. And it does sound well, doesn't it? Anyway, that SEC chair is, as Mr. Javier Milei says, afuera! He's gone. That rat's gone. Hopefully he's going to go to the Huska one of these days. Anyway, there's a new SEC chair named Paul Atkins. And as someone goes into these, how would you say, positions? I don't know if it's a cabinet position or whatever. Probably not. It's just the head of a bureaucracy called the Security and Exchange Commission. But he reports, and this guy's a millionaire, multimillionaire, him and his wife, very, very rich. He reports being $6 million in crypto, meaning he holds $6 million in cryptocurrency. What does that tell you? It tells you that he knows the value of cryptos. So the Security and Exchange Commission hopefully will be not so hostile to cryptos in the near future, in any future, because there's no room for that. And if you are that hostile towards cryptocurrencies, you're probably a lackey of the Federal Reserve and not worth anything to America. Do I sound opinionated? It might be because I am, but my opinions are based on what's best for the average individual, not just Americans either. This whole experiment that burgeoned in 2009 and is burgeoning as we speak, emerging from the murky depths of corrupt finance, seen no better than in the Federal Reserve. These new, I guess, emerging markets, if you want to call them, emerging assets, are not all worthwhile, are not all worth you putting even a dime in, okay? But some of these, like Bitcoin, are based off of something great. It's called decentralization. And decentralization means that people everywhere in this world can have freedom that they didn't have under centralization. That's the reason why centralization was invented. They want to centrally control you and me, centrally control every human being on the earth. But I got news for them. They're losing. They're losing. Jim says, What's up with the new AI coin in phase 15, currently at 0.007 cents? Supposed to rival Ripple and hit $5 in 9 months. Wow. Wow. Well, the new AI coin. Do we have a name for that, Jim? The new AI coin in phase 15. So I guess they're going through some, I don't know, are they regulatory hurdles? The number which they're at now is 15, or is that just the project? They've gone through that many iterations in their project. So at 0.007 cents, man, AI is the way right now, is the trend. So I would say I'd take a look at it. I would look to see how many total coins there are. I would look to see what kind of liquidity they have, how many people are in the market. And I would look to see how they issue it. But I mean, to throw $20 at that, I don't see. I mean, sure, it's a small risk, but at the same time, if it hits, bing, bing, bing. Yes, I wouldn't. Like I said, give it the eyeball, give it the review. But yeah, I mean, why not? This is coming out of Zero Hedge. North Carolina Supreme Court rules that family can sue over the pandemic disease that, I don't know, we're still on Facebook and YouTube, so you know how the censorship goes. The 19 disease and the fake cure they had that went into your arm without consent. So there was this kid apparently who was he was brought to a clinic, or the clinic came to the school or his daycare and jabbed him against his will. Let me read this. A federal law granting broad immunity to vaccine. Oh, I said the word. Administrators and others does not preempt charges that a mother's constitutional rights were violated when her son was given a CV-19 jab without her consent. The North Carolina Supreme Court has ruled. Wow, they've already ruled on this. Emily Heppel and her teenage son can proceed with a lawsuit against their local school board and a medical organization. This is big, ladies and gentlemen. This is big for a few reasons. I'll get to those in a second. There's only a couple of lines here remaining. Heppel's son, Tanner Smith, who was 14 at the time, was given a you-know-what VAX in 2021, even though administrators did not obtain parental consent. Okay? So, the meaning of this is at least twofold. One, it's telling us there is redress for those who did not want it, yet got it anyway. Two, it means that the court is ruling not so much on the fact that there is a shield of immunity, if you will, around the pharmaceutical companies that do these kind of criminal acts, because, well, they're under what they call an emergency act. So if someone who is paid enough money, who is crooked enough, or is despotic and tyrannical enough to say, I am making an edict that says there is an emergency, according to me, and according to paid experts that are also, on the take, which is just what happened in the pandemic. So I am invoking this emergency act, and everyone involved in poisoning others is off the hook to any degree. Okay? So that is the shielding behind these emergency acts, so that anyone who does whatever, these tyrannical orders order them to do, they're covered. Now, this ruling takes exception not on that dictatorial edict, but on the perspective of one whose constitutional rights were violated. In this case, this 14-year-old boy who refused but wasn't 18, he got jabbed, and his mom, as the parent of this minor child, her rights were violated. Her constitutional rights were violated because, you see, there are still courtrooms in this country, this great land. There are still courtrooms that realize that the Constitution is not diluted or overstepped in any way, shape, or form by an emergency order. There is no room in the Constitution for it to be usurped by an emergency order by a petty potentate or dictator. It does not exist, ladies and gentlemen. The Constitution is the law of the land. Take it or leave this place. Leave this. No, that was not the Elon Musk thing, right? Everybody's going to be, say, oh, that Otter, holy cow, he did the whole Zeke Kyle thing. No. I was doing the Javier Milei thing. Afuera with that mess. Anyway, what do we got, Jim? I think it was called Lightning. It's Light Chain AI. Well, I'm going to look into it. Maybe you have, Jim. I don't know what the tokenomics are. I don't know how many are already out. I don't know how many are in reserve. Who holds them? What, the release timetable is for them, those coins. Don't know. But, man, at 0.007, throw a little bit in there, see what happens, right? I mean, what's the worst can happen? You throw $20 at it, you lose $20. So this North Carolina Supreme Court ruling is pretty bullish in my book. The people that foisted the pandemic upon us and what they did to us, our brothers, sisters, parents, grandparents, coworkers. I can tell you that I have some, I call them brothers of men. Thank God no women in the workplace that I work in were affected. Well, I mean, yeah, the wives of the men that were murdered, yeah, they were certainly affected. The sons and daughters of those that were, murdered in the hospitals with remdesivir or sticking those things in their throats. I don't want to get too into it because it's a very emotional thing for me, but there were murders done all around the world, and there are responsible parties. Hopefully they will be brought to justice. Here's something that's very interesting, though I can't say, I won't say it because I don't think it's true. I kind of saw it coming. Not that I don't think I didn't see it coming was true, or I saw it coming wasn't true, but the fact that the security of it all wasn't true. It wasn't true at all. So here's what I'm getting at. This was out of, again, Zero Hedge. Bankrupt 23andMe cleared by judge to sell Americans' DNA data to highest bidder. Remember that DNA that some of us gave up to 23andMe? We know there were breaches. We know there were... now that I look back at it, just off the cuff from right now, just thinking about it right now, those breaches were probably sales. Probably sales. Thank you, Jim, for the link. And the dinner, you guys got pizza there. Wow, man, you guys are watching wings and pizza straight from Florida. That looks awesome, guys. Oh, and hi, Dad. If you're watching, I love you, Dad. Good to see you too. That looks really good. Anyway, thank you again, Jim, for the link. So, Carol J. Ryzek, a lawyer with the U.S. Trustee's Office, which acts as a public watchdog in bankruptcy court, told Walsh, I guess he's something to do with the 23andMe operation, that a privacy ombudsman is necessary to oversee the sale of customers' private genetic information. The takeaway for consumers is to never hand over your biometric data to corporations. This is, again, from the author of the Zero Hedge article, the government or anyone else, to those who did or are now on a list that will be sold to the highest bidder. Yeah, so 23andMe is selling your data to the highest bidder. And I guess the people that, and these are conspiracy theorists, near and dear to my heart, that think that possibly at some point diseases, frequencies, all kinds of different technologies could be dialed in to a genetic fingerprint at some point in the future. Now, yes, that sounds Orwellian. It sounds tragic, which it is. But also, don't think that that's the only way they're going to get your DNA. I realize that. I realize that, and I'm sure you do too. Remembering the training that my guru, Joe Martinez, gave me from my brief crash course in radio. It's half past. I mean, the show's all half over already. Thank you for watching, everybody that's watching. So, what I'd like to say is that we're going out on YouTube, we're going out on Facebook, and we're not going out on 97.7 KCYP The City today because I'm not in the studio, because we're flooded here in McAllen. A lot of rain. We needed it, but man, did we get socked by rain, and maybe some hail in some places. I don't know. So the Gateway Pundit says this: whitewashed by the MSM, Ukrainian Nazi fighters from the Azov Regiment sentenced in Russian military court. Ladies and gentlemen, those misinformed people on Facebook that you see with all those, or on X, with those flags from other countries, especially the one from Ukraine, who are out telling people they're Nazis because they don't want to give any more of their hard-earned tax dollars to an overthrown, usurped regime such as the Ukrainian one. Well, they fail to realize every single day of their life that their beloved Ukraine is run, or at least employs, Nazis. If today the US aid media is willing to whitewash and even lionize these radicals, meaning these Azov Regiment Nazis, it wasn't always like that. In 2014, The Guardian, you don't get too much more sick and crazy than The Guardian, described the Azov battalion, or the Azovs, as a battalion with far-right neo-Nazi leanings, openly expressing admiration for Hitler and displaying swastika tattoos, while Time, that bastion of jackassery, highlighted its neo-Nazi symbols like the Black Sun and Wolf's Hook in its appeal to far-right volunteers from Europe and the US. These are what they were writing prior to the decimation of an entire generation of young Ukrainian men that they cheer on every day in their profiles. Also in 2014, the Daily Telegraph called Azov a neo-Nazi force, and the Washington Post noted that Azov's far-right volunteers included foreign neo-Nazis. Now you will not hear anything about the Nazi nation or the Nazification of the Ukrainian nation at all, because they want you to think it's legitimate. There's a couple things up. Let me get into this. Hopefully I'll get some comments on this one. This is again from the Gateway Pundit. Ontario Premier, and yes, he is. I got it. You will know if you're from New York, and many of our listeners and watchers are. You're going to know this fat bastard right off the bat. Yes, I call him a fat bastard, and he deserves it. Ontario Premier makes a cruel vow in response to Trump's most recent tariffs on Canada. We're going to inflict as much pain as possible on the American people. One should not be surprised by Ford's disgusting remarks. This guy is Ford. His name's Ford. Man, this guy's a tool. As the Gateway Pundit reported earlier this month, Ford previously threatened to cut off electricity to over 1 million Americans in New York, Michigan, and Minnesota. If he wants to destroy our economy, says Ford, and our families, I will shut down the electricity going down to the U.S., Ford boasted. And I'm telling you, we will do it. Of course, and this is in the article here. In the article, Ford caved just over a week after Trump threatened retaliation against Canada. He is a weak, lily-livered individual and a slob. He's a slob. I mean, by anyone's standards, you look at the guy, he's a slob just by looking at him. Sausage fingers, all that good stuff. Not, you know, and then by his words and his deeds, I don't even think Canadians like the guy, right? I don't think so. So, as many people on Facebook already know this, as many people in the general public already know this, I'm going to go over this again slowly. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason why Donald Trump is doing what he's doing via tariffs, I mean, there's multiple reasons, right? But the reasons stated are not articulated well by the U.S. media because they're, basically scum. Other than that, they don't want you to know why Donald Trump is doing what he's doing apropos the raising the tariffs along with the tariffs that the nations that we do trade with are ratcheting up against us. Here's one of the reasons why this is the case. Now, what I'm going to mention right now is a set of statistics that was true, possibly even true right now, prior to Trump taking office, prior to any talks of hiking tariffs were made. This is what Canada, okay, the home of Ford, fat bastard Ford, this is what they're doing to the United States. I would imagine most of this is incurred against New Yorkers. So this is from, I want to say, there's many places where this is from. I haven't seen this just from Facebook or just from X, but just a friendly reminder that these are the tariffs Canada applied to agricultural products before we entered trade wars. Okay? Chicken, 263% tariff from Canada to the U.S. And Ford wants us to think that, he's going to ratchet that up. Well, do what you want, big guy. Do what you want. Now, remember, I mentioned this last week, and it goes worthy of mention this week as well. The GDP percentage, okay, and Sue, I think you put this up on the screen the one day that the dollar amounts were very close, and I didn't put two and two together because when it comes to math, I'm very, very slow. Anyway, other things too, as you might know. But when our dollar amounts are put together, that's one thing. But when you use the scale of percentage of GDP, there's no comparison. The percentage of GDP in Canada that trade with the U.S. represents, and the percentage of GDP in Mexico, which is the percentage that trade with U.S. represents, between us and Mexico, excuse me, staggeringly in favor of the U.S., meaning the percentage of GDP in Canada and Mexico based on U.S. trade is enormous. I think it's 20-some percent, or maybe more in Mexican interaction with U.S. in trade. But I think Canada is 20-some percent, where ours is like 2%. 2% of our GDP is gained by trade with Canada. So, 20-something percent Canada gets. Why? We're figuring it out now. Chicken, 263%. Turkey, 179% tariff to the U.S. taxpayer. Bada bing, bada boom, taxpayer from the U.S. Canada's right all in, yeah. Butter, 175% tariff from Canada right into your pocketbook, Americans. Certain fish products, 160%. Milk, 155%. Cheese, 147%. Beef, 77%. Pork, 77%. Eggs, 66%, flour 40%, wheat 38%, orange juice 25%, and peanut butter 25%. Now, our tariffs towards Canada, 25%, doesn't sound so high anymore, does it, Ford? You're a fool. You're a fool. Anyway, here's something interesting. And on the, how would you say, the happy tip, in my opinion, I would imagine this is going to be another great artistic endeavor by Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson's long away, again, the Gateway Pundit. Mel Gibson's long-awaited resurrection sequel to The Passion of the Christ finally reveals its start date. So this is Mel Gibson, and he says, my brother and I, Randall, Randall. So there's a guy named Randall in on the creativity of this. My brother and I and Randall all sort of congregated on this. So there's some good heads put together, but there's some crazy stuff. This is Mel Gibson talking. And I think in order to really tell the story properly, you have to really start with the fall of the angels. I love the way Mel's going with this. Because there are things in our history, human history, not just American history, human history, that we have kind of been discouraged from looking into. They've been shelved because there's this huge, I guess, for lack of a better term, fallacy out there that says we came from goo, unplanned, spontaneously, this puddle of goo, whatever it might have been, in the minds of guys like Hawking, maybe guys like that guy that, is always all over YouTube talking about the stars and stuff like that. People that have a purely materialistic idea of the origins of human life on Earth, etc., life on Earth in total. But they want to start with the fall of the angels. Very apropos. Which means, and this is again Mel Gibson, which means you're in another place. You're in another realm. You need to go to hell, says Mel. No pun intended. No rhyme intended. You need to go to Sheol. Sheol is the Hebrew term for hell, the basic storage place of damned souls. Mel again. It's about finding the way in that's not cheesy or too obvious. Now he's speaking of his creative endeavor in this sequel to The Passion of the Christ. This is going to be the resurrection of the Christ. So he wants to find a conceptual way in that won't look cheesy and won't rip you off, yet won't be too obvious when you're viewing it. Mel says, I think I have ideas about how to do that and how to evoke things and emotions in people from the way you depict it and the way you shoot it. So I've been thinking about it for a long time. It's not going to be easy, and it's going to require a lot of planning, and I'm not wholly sure I can pull off. To tell you the truth, it's super ambitious, says Mel Gibson. But I'll take a crack at it because that's what you got to do, right? Walk up to the plate, right? Yeah, it is. It is, Mel. And hey, Marcos, good to see you. Glad you could visit the Bitcoin Otter Show. We're talking about Mel Gibson's long-awaited sequel to The Passion of the Christ called The Resurrection. Okay? So he's coming at it from a very interesting, and I've been doing some studies on this. The time of the fall of the angels, which occurred in Genesis 6. So in Genesis 6, we read that the sons of God, the angels, the sons of God looked down upon the earth, saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, went down and had sons and daughters by them. So the angels broke the compact, the covenant with God, and started messing with humans. And that brought about the giants, right? So the offspring of these fallen angels and human women created the giants, the Nephilim in biblical terminology. So the Nephilim were the giants. They were cannibalistic. They were horrible. They They obviously they ate people, they destroyed people, they did many evil things on the earth, and that's what was the impetus for the flood. God needed to destroy them because they were after what their father Satan wanted them to be after, which was the job of polluting the human bloodline to the extent that the Messiah, Jesus Christ, could never come upon the earth. So, of course, God has his ways that are above our ways. His thoughts are above our thoughts. And he thought, well, you know what? I'm going to get rid of these crazy, crazy, evil sons of God, the Nephilim, the fallen ones. So that, as you can see, also, if you read the Bible, you can see that it still didn't end even after the flood because of the 8 people that were on Noah's Ark. At least one of the wives of Noah's sons had some Nephilim blood in her genealogy. So that's where we came, that's where the Anakim and all the other, bloodlines of the Nephilim that went in and took the Palestinian lands, the promised land for the Israelites, prior to them arriving at it, because, Satan wanted them to occupy those lands that were already publicly promised to the Israelites because, well, he doesn't like God's people. He doesn't like you. In fact, he hates you. I think you knew that already. So, coming up to the end of the show, ladies and gentlemen, but I just want to let you know that, yes, there is a date, and it doesn't have it right now in the article, but Mel Gibson is planning with his brother and another creative mind to bring about the sequel to The Passion of the Christ. And that, to me, is a great thing. I think it made like $600 billion or something like that. Yeah, worldwide. Something along those lines. If I'm correct, I believe I am. It was a great movie, and we'll see what the sequel portends for us. So if you guys have anything else you want to talk about, throw it up on the chat right now. I know there's a delay, but I'm going to wrap it up. If not, and if you do, well then, and also, by the way, anyone who's watching this or listening to this after the fact, I will check the comments and we'll see. I'll still answer your questions. If you got a question, just let me know. So Jim says, like the new hat. Thanks, man. This is a gift of mine from a great friend, Louis Ramirez. Thank you, Lou. I'm sure at one point or another you'll be watching. Thank you very much, Jim, for the compliment. Lone Star, and I guess a sidebar on Lone Star, for whatever reason, they have not been really prolific. I don't know if there's a brewery issue going on here in Texas or not. I don't know. But sooner or later, we're going to get to the bottom of that. Now, I would like to end the show. We're at 6:53 here in Central Time. I'd like to end the show. I'd like to end the show with a verse from the Bible. And I want to read that for you. This is Romans 8:18. I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. So if I'm going to go back and discuss quickly what we just discussed about the fallen angels, ladies and gentlemen, they were in the glory that being close to God entails. And they left that abode. They left their privileged abode to come down here and make it dirty down here. And we are all dirtied, sullied, if you will, by that as humans. But we have a promise. We have a promise by God, his son, that we're suffering through certain things right now, but these sufferings cannot even be compared with the glory that we are going to have, that these sons of God, these angels, at one point in time left. We will clothe ourselves in new bodies, reside in a new place, and the things that are troubling us now, says Paul in Romans, Can't even compare. Cannot even compare, ladies and gentlemen. If you have some sufferings, if you have some issues like we all do, let that be a beacon of hope for you, that God himself wants us to know that if we consider rightly and carefully, we will come to the same conclusion as the Apostle Paul, that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. I love being encouraged by the Word of God, and I'm sure you do too. So on the way out, I'm going to say a prayer to each and every one of you, to God for each and every one of you. Thank you, Father, for this blessing that we could speak about such things openly, that we could speak about ways in which you're blessing us, past, present, and future. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for being with America. Thank you for being with the world and the nations that you created. May we all become patriots of the nation that you chose to have us born in, and patriots of the home that you've promised us in heaven. Thank you, Father, for sending your Son, our King, Jesus Christ. And thank you for bringing us all together at this point in time to witness a great thing that you are bringing about. And thank you for bringing it about through us. I pray these things and these blessings upon all listeners, watchers of this show, and those that even don't, but are fighting for freedom. And those of our brothers and sisters in places like Syria who are being persecuted. May they be strengthened, and may you show them in a way of mercy, Lord. May they escape. And if they have perished, that they receive the glory that you've promised us. Above all other glory, the martyrs that died in your name, Lord Jesus, for your name. And I thank you for the privilege of bearing your name. And I pray in your name, Lord Jesus, that all these things come to pass. Amen. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. May you be blessed. And God bless you in your ways, in your endeavors, and in your homes. Until next week, God bless you. God bless America. And keep on keeping on. Amen and amen.